Welcome to Hey, It's Carly Rae's Book Club. This is Book Hour, where authors will talk their latest novel, reveal their writing process, and play some fun book games. I'm your host, Carly Rae. Today, we have author Lindsay Currie. We're going to be talking about her new novel, Scritch Scratch, finding out what inspired her to write a middle grade spooky story, if Halloween is her favorite holiday, and find out if there will be an eerie sequel. Plus, we're going to play a game of trivia Halloween edition and see if Lindsay would rather live in a haunted house or beside a haunted graveyard. We'll dive in right after this. Hello, Lindsay. Tell us where you're joining us from.
Hey, I am coming to you from stormy Chicago today. The weather is actually perfect for our spooky talk.
Now, Scritch Scratch is your latest novel, out just in time for Halloween. Here is a close-up of the spooky fun cover. It has gotten great reviews so far. R.L. Stine, author of Goosebumps series, said this is a teeth-chattering, eyes-bulging, shuddering and shaking, chills at the back of your neck ghost story. I loved it. Tell us more about Scritch Scratch and the character of Claire Koster.
Yes, gladly. So Scritch Scratch follows the story of Claire, who is 12, and she lives here in Chicago. She's lived here her entire life, and I like to describe her as her own little scientist, okay? So it's more than just her favorite subject in school. I mean, really, it's her personality. She's a very practical person. She likes evidence and proof of things, and that's really just how she functions. But this puts her at odds with her father, who is actually a little bit more eclectic. He is into ghosts and ghost legends and paranormal things, so much that he runs the tour bus you see on the cover of Scritch Scratch. This is the Spirits tour bus. And it's not just any tour bus, it's a ghost tour bus here in Chicago. So Claire, I'm going to be honest, she really doesn't like the tour bus. She wants nothing to do with his ghost business. She thinks it's ridiculous and embarrassing and, of course, impractical, right? But because I like to create big problems for my characters, I've created one for Claire, and that's that her father's assistant gets very sick one weekend and he needs help on the Spirits bus. And wouldn't you know, Claire's the only person available to help him. It's pretty much her worst nightmare. She has to go on the tour bus. She does it begrudgingly, goes on the bus and discovers pretty quickly that it's a lot scarier than she expected. It's really not silly at all. All of the stops on the Spirits tour bus are real places here in Chicago, really scary places where some dark history happens. This is actually a glimpse of the stops on the bus inside of the book. And so she really struggles through that. And by the time the tour officially ends, just when she thinks she has survived all of this, she turns around and discovers a little boy sitting at the back of the bus. Actually, there's just a little bit of a hint of him here on the cover. And he's very sad looking. He's also very unusual looking. It's very pale. He's got extremely dark eyes and he's dripping wet, even though it's not raining outside. And these things are all unsettling. And what's more unsettling is that no one else seems to see him. And Claire, being the practical person she is, she has to she can't just let it go. Like, she really wants to know what's up with this kid because he seems kind of to be targeting her. He's looking at her, right? And so she gets to the back of the bus the minute it stops, but he's gone. He's vanished into thin air. And from that moment on, some very, very scary things happen to Claire in her house and at school. And there are things that she can't explain with science, unfortunately. And so she really has to kind of reevaluate if she's been wrong about ghosts all this time. And if she was wrong, then who's haunting her and what do they want? That's the general premise behind Scritch Scratch.
Well, definitely sounds interesting and spooky.
It's definitely got some very eerie scenes.
Now, in your interview with MG Book Village, you said the book is actually based on Chicago's real life, or as you called it, forgotten history. Were you always curious about the history of Chicago? What gave you the idea of a middle grade story based off the history?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I've been in Chicago for a long time now. Actually, moved up to Chicago straight after college, and what I really discovered about this city is that there are, as with all cities, honestly, I'm sure if we all started digging about the place that we live in, we would uncover this so-called forgotten history. So the people and events that happened there that really no one remembers. And I've always been fascinated by things like that. And for me, it's a lot tied into architecture. Chicago has a lot of cool architecture. So what happened with me was just a series of being out on long walks and observing things around my neighborhood. I happen to think that the area that I live in, which is kind of the Lincoln Park area, is one of the most haunted places, not just in Chicago or in Illinois, but literally in the world. And so when I would see interesting things or things that piqued my curiosity that didn't make a lot of sense, structures and memorials and things like that, I would start digging around and doing some research. And those things then started sparking ideas for me. Middle grade is really a passion for me, honestly. Like, it took me a long time in writing to figure out the right age group. I think it's kind of an experimentation process to figure out where you fit best when you're writing. And I love middle grade because you can have this great blend of adventure and you can have spookiness, but there's always the one common thing I feel like in middle grade is hope. There's always this element of hope, even with scary stories. I never write a scary story where everyone is doomed to the end, right? And that's what I really love about middle grade. Kids in this age group have kind of 1 foot in childhood and 1 foot in the more growing up adulthood. And so it's a great age range to write for, especially stuff like this, because they do like spooky things. It's a fun vehicle for some history.
Yeah. Well, you were able to capture creepy in a great way throughout this novel. Have you always loved Halloween and wanted to incorporate it into a novel?
Oh, I've always loved Halloween. My house has been decorated since like September 1st. Everyone in my family just puts up with me. I really believe that when you write things you are actually passionate about and that you actually find interesting, that comes across to the reader. So one of the things that I'm always talking about, when I talk to aspiring writers or people who are just at the beginning of their publishing journey, it's that really don't try to chase those trends, those things you think will be big at some point. Instead, really focus on things that you find interesting, because someone else will probably find it interesting too. And for me, that is, spooky things, and specifically spooky forgotten history here in Chicago. Although I am branching out of Chicago for my next release. So no, they're not all going to be here.
Well, it has so many aspects of fun, from the cover to the exclusive map on the inside. And here's a close-up of the map that you have. What was your absolute favorite part of crafting Scritch Scratch?
Oh my gosh, there are so many parts I love about the process for every book, but with Scritch Scratch in particular, because there are so many different spots in Chicago featured and so many different, almost you could look at them as individual stories because of the history at each location. The research phase for this book was extremely fun because I really felt compelled to make sure I visited all of these places. And I also went on a ghost tour bus when I was researching. It was so fun. I mean, it was scary. It was scary. But what I really wanted to do by going on that bus is, not just make sure I knew everything about the locations that I already kind of had in my head, but more so just absorb the atmosphere and the environment and the feel of being on one of these buses. And I got to say, that was pretty memorable. It was a good time.
Yeah. Well, you heard Lindsay talk about her newest novel, Scritch Scratch. We'll be right back after this exclusive Scritch Scratch trailer to find out where Lindsay's writing journey began. Welcome back to Book Hour. I'm your host, Carly Rae, here with author Lindsay Currie. Lindsay, you kind of told us earlier, but why middle grade fiction and why do you always include spooky in your stories? Was that always your style?
I think for a long time, I really didn't know what my style was. And honestly, that's the truth. When I first started writing and thinking about publishing as an actual career, as opposed to writing just as a hobby for myself and to fulfill myself, I had no idea where I fit into the publishing picture or if I even did. I started out trying to write picture books. This was years and years ago. My kids were very young and I felt like that was kind of what I knew, little kids. I knew little kids. But as it turns out, I really don't have the right voice for picture books. I mean, that just isn't where I belonged. And so it took me several years to figure out that actually I fit in really well in middle grade because the kinds of things that I like to write, the spooky, the dark things, the really adventurous kind of mysteries, which is what I grew up reading too. I mean, I've always loved mysteries. Those work really well with the middle grade age group. And so, yeah, I mean, it took me a while to get there, but I've been really fortunate to finally find my way and to land in a place where I am actually writing something that I truly enjoy.
Yeah. Now, how do you get into the zone of crafting a spooky story? Have you ever experienced paranormal activity before?
Oh, thank goodness, no. Okay, so actually, young readers ask me this all the time, like, do I believe in ghosts and have I ever had a paranormal experience? So first of all, do I believe in ghosts? Yeah, I do. Have I ever had a paranormal experience? No. I mean, if I was actually being haunted, like my character, I think I'm not nearly as brave. I think I'd have to put my house on the market and move. I don't think I would be capable of facing down a supernatural, an entity like this. But it's kind of a fun idea. And so, yeah, I mean, really, like, I just think it's such a fun thing to be able to write, for kids. And the other thing too about writing ghosts is they're classic. Like I literally remember books from my childhood that I read and obsessed over, and look at, authors, for example, like Mary Downing Hahn, so brilliant, has created an entire career out of writing spooky for kids and doing it very, very well.
Yeah. Now, when you went on your ghost tour, you didn't experience like the sidewalks being colder or anything like that?
Okay, so nothing like that, but I definitely have been to some places here in Chicago where I get a really bad feeling, like a chill, if that makes any sense. So two of them are featured in Scritch Scratch. So one of them is in the epilogue, not the epilogue, but the very last chapter. And it's a grave in Graceland Cemetery called Eternal Silence, which is already a little bit eerie, right? Not that they usually name them something chipper, but, and being around that particular grave always gives me a really unsettled feeling. Like sometimes when I'm doing school presentations and I talk about it, I get goosebumps, which is weird. And then the other is downtown, and it's actually a stop on the Spirits tour in the bus, and it's called the Alley of Death, which is also a horrifying title. But it's funny. It's a plain alley here in Chicago. It's actually pretty nice for an alley. Like it's well lit. It's not super dirty, but it's just once you learn the history behind some of these locations, I feel like you can't forget that then. And then that's what you're feeling. That's that vibe when you're there.
Yeah. Now walk us through the publishing process of your books. Do you craft your novel, get it edited, and then take part in the publishing process?
Yeah, so it's a pretty long process. I'm actually really fortunate to have a fantastic agent. Kathleen Rochelle at Andrea Brown Literary Agency is who represents me, and she really is a tremendous partner in this process, because the way I function with her is that when an idea pops into my head, it's very easy for me to get swept away with that idea before I really even know if it's a good idea to write it, right? And her job really is to know the market, to know what's out there, to also know who she has relationships with that certain books might work for. So I usually will show her just a little pitch for the book first, send a few sample pages, something that'll give her an idea of what the book is, and then wait for either a green light or a yellow light or a full-on red light, and then have a conversation. If she says, yes, move forward. This sounds fantastic. It sounds like it's good for your brand. I feel like there's a place in the market for this. Then I will throw myself into it. And when it's finished, I give it back to her again because she's very hands-on with edits. And I'm extremely fortunate for that because, you know, all authors have blind spots. And even though we have critique partners that help us, she's got a great eye and she's been doing this for a long time. So, and then after she is finally done with it, then you have to kind of cast the net out to some editors, you know, who wants to see it, who's interested. It's a very long process.
Yeah. Now, how important is it to you to be involved with readers on social media? Do you check their messages daily and all the posts that you're tagged in?
I try really hard to. I really do. I mean, for one, it makes me happy. I really appreciate the comments, and that's the kind of thing that fuels me when I'm writing. Like when young readers are saying to me, hey, I really loved this in particular, or, oh, something like this happened to me and this made me feel better. Those are the kinds of things that I will remember when times in writing get tough, and they do frequently. It's certainly not an easy industry or an easy thing to do. And in addition to that, you know, I wouldn't have any books if it wasn't for my readers. I mean, they really are who give me the opportunity to keep writing. So I owe them. I do try really hard to respond to all of those things.
You heard Lindsay talk about how important social media is. Stay tuned because when we return, we're going to see how well Lindsay knows her facts on Halloween and if she'd rather tour a haunted house or a haunted graveyard.
Coffee. The liquid that helps us start our day or keeps us going at 2 p.m. when our keyboard pillow nap comes calling. You're good. At Fire Department Coffee, we know how important it is to you that your coffee tastes great. So let's face it, when you're choking down 8 to 10 cups of bean juice a day running back-to-back calls, or just trying to keep your wits together while your well-behaved children tug at every last strand of your sanity, we want to make sure that every last drop in your mug is the best coffee you've ever tasted.
Who are you talking to?
That's why at Fire Department Coffee, every stage of your order is watched after by carefully trained professional eyes, like our head roaster, retired fire captain Dave McWitt. Dave! From our R&D department that's always striving to make sure that your next cup of Fire Department coffee is the perfect balance of wonderful taste and the caffeinated motivation that you need to get through your day.
There has got to be a better way of testing this.
Probably.
Making sure that you get your orders delivered to you as quickly and affordably as possible. Hey Doris, you know you're the only lady I hand deliver to.
Oh, thank you, Jason. I was wondering if you could help me. I think my cat is stuck in the attic again.
Are you sure he's up here, Doris? It's really hot. I can't see anything.
Oh, I'm sure he's still up there. Why don't you take off your shirt? You wouldn't want to overheat.
I'm not falling again for that, Doris.
And at the end of the day, we're just thankful that we get to follow our passion of making high-quality coffee for thousands of hardworking people all across the world. So thank you for your support, and we look forward to making each and every one of your days better, one cup of coffee at a time.
Cut.
Woo! Good job, guys. Very, very nice. Smooth.
A lady named Doris just ordered a couple bags of coffee and asked for it to be delivered by her steamy ginger firefighter.
Oh, that lady is relentless.
We are back with Book Hour, and it is game time. Lindsay, I'm going to ask you factual questions about Halloween from icebreakerideas.com, and we're going to see if you can answer them.
Oh, geez. Okay.
All right. The first one is, in what country did Halloween originate from?
Oh my gosh. I have no idea where Halloween originated. I literally have no clue. I feel like maybe somewhere in the UK, but I'm not sure where.
Close. Ireland.
Oh, okay. All right. That's the only one I'm going to miss.
Okay. Second one is, every Halloween, Charlie Brown helps his friend Linus wait for what character to appear?
The Great Pumpkin?
Yes. Ding, ding, ding. All right. 3, who wrote the novel Frankenstein?
Mary Shelley.
Yes. Ding, ding, ding. So we got 2. We got 1 and then 2. So you're doing good. Which country celebrates the Day of the Dead starting at midnight on October 31st?
Mexico?
Yes. Ding, ding,
Woohoo!
ding.
I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. This was scary for a minute. This was really scary for a minute. Okay.
All right. The last one is, it's illegal to dress like a nun or priest for Halloween in which U.S. state?
Oh, wow. Where would that be? I definitely don't think it's in Illinois because I see a lot of nuns on Halloween. I actually have no idea where this would be. Texas? I don't know.
No, it's actually Alabama. You get fined up to $500 and you can go in jail for a year.
Okay, that is a serious restriction. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't planning on dressing as one of those things and going to Alabama, but I'm definitely going to make sure it's never on my bucket list for the future now.
Well, now you know. So if you're ever there, you can say, hey, this is what I'm not doing.
I know what I'm not going to do here.
All right. Well, now we're going to play Would You Rather Halloween Edition. But for the trivia, Lindsay, you got 3 out of 2. So you did good.
Okay.
All right. Would you rather now? Would you rather live in a haunted house or beside a haunted graveyard?
Okay, so the graveyard is for sure haunted.
Yes. Like people hear things.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna live next to the haunted graveyard then.
Okay. All right. Would you rather have someone be scared of your costume for Halloween or be scared of someone else's costume on Halloween?
Oh, scared of my costume.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather visit the set of Hocus Pocus or Frankenstein?
Oh, Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
So great.
Would you rather be a vampire or a zombie?
Ooh, I put extensive thought into this one, and despite the fact that I really don't like blood or the sight of blood, I'm still going to go with vampire.
Okay. And then are you Team Edward or Team Jacob then?
Oh my God, I'm going to have to go with Edward then. Although I'm more of a Vampire Diaries person. So, okay.
We got Stefan.
Yeah, well, I would take Damon, but yes.
And then lastly, would you rather get a king-size Snickers bar or 100 candy corn?
Oh, Snickers bar. Snickers bar all the way.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you there. Well, that concludes game time. Lindsay, I want to thank you for being on Book Hour and joining us today. Before you go, tell viewers if you have more spooky stories coming out. And these are some hints of the mysterious covers we got to look forward to.
Yes. So I do have one coming out approximately a year from now. I don't have an exact release date. That's the one you saw in the middle that said Woodmore. I'm also not positive if that's going to be fully the title. Like those things change sometimes. Scritch Scratch underwent 3 title changes. So, but as of right now, that's the title, and it takes place in Michigan. So I'm not. I know I didn't set it in Chicago. It takes place at a mansion that is loosely inspired by an actual mansion outside of Saugatuck, Michigan. Actually, that was. Put together. It was built in, I think, the 30s, and it really has a very haunted history. And so I really enjoyed writing that one. I think you guys will like it a lot. It's very ghostly.
Well, I cannot wait to read more from you. If viewers want to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Lindsay N. Currie. So it's my middle initial N for Nicole. But yeah, you can find me there anytime.
You heard Lindsay. Go and check her out now. All of her social media handles are in the description below as well. Lindsay, thank you for being on Book Hour. And for those watching, I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.